what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Foot Candle Films. Film news and reviews from two guys who really like movies.
This episode is brought to you by the Foot Candle Film Society. For a schedule of upcoming screenings and membership information, visit the Society's website at www.footcandle.org.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Foot Candle Films here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. My name is Alan Jackson. With me is Chris Fry. We are both with the Foot Candle Film Society and the annual Foot Candle Film Festival coming up September 21st through the 29th. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Did I get the dates right?
20th.
20th. Just come down in late September. Don't worry about the dates. Just come camp out in Western Carolina Western North Carolina the whole last 2 weeks of September. You'll be fine. But this is our show podcast, our podcast review show, discussion show for Candle Films. We get together and we discuss and review a latest film, as well as throw some movie news your way, talk about some upcoming productions that we're interested in, maybe listen to a trailer or so and kind of give some thoughts and feedback on some new films that are being announced. And it sounds like we're going to have a Chris Fry recommendation at the end of this episode as well, a film that he recently caught up with or saw and wants to share and let us know that he has given it his seal of approval, that it is one that you may also want to check out. I assume this is a positive recommendation.
Yes.
And not a negative recommendation where you're telling us a film to stay away from.
It is true. It is try to stay on the positive side. So yes, it is one that I recommend people check out instead of steer away from. Yeah.
And I just jumped right into the show, Chris. How are you doing? I didn't even stop to ask how you're doing.
I am doing well.
I try to do that every time we get in front of the microphone. I mean, it's not like we see each other and work together and run film festival together and all that. But I still, we get at the microphone, still want to stop and say, how are you doing?
What's up? Yeah, no, doing well.
Good.
Had an interesting movie-going experience. We won't discuss it this show, possibly in our next episode. Saw the new Alien Romulus.
I saw that you saw that. So I saw it logged on your Letterboxd account.
Yes.
I'm very anxious to ask questions, but I'm not going to because I will plan on seeing it hopefully sometime this weekend as well.
Excellent. So maybe it will tease. Maybe that'll be the review for the next show.
I hope it will be. All right. But we have a different film we're going to be reviewing today on this show. It is the latest Apple TV original or Apple TV Plus released film starring Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. It is The Instigators. So let's get right into our review of that if you are ready to go, Chris.
Let's do it.
All right.
It's your first job? A little late for a career change, ain't it?
Rory, do you want to fix things with your son?
Couldn't look him in the eye. Mortgage, back child support. That's on me.
Rory, are you sure you've tried everything?
Not everything.
I got a once-in-a-lifetime squad. You the Marine?
Yeah.
You the ex-con?
Yeah, I did time, but you only got to cast aspersions at me, guy.
Go. Good. Stop talking.
No alcohol detected.
Been about a week. The mayor's going to be holding a party on election night. And there's going to be money there, like none of you bums ever seen.
Director Doug Liman reunites with Matt Damon 22 years after the Bourne Identity for The Instigators, a film that follows two unlikely partners who must go on the run after a heist doesn't quite go as planned. Casey Affleck, who also co-wrote the film, stars as the other robber in the pair along with Damon. Other notable names in the cast are Hong Chow, Michael Stuhlbarg, Alfred Molina, Ron Perlman, Ving Rhames, and Toby Jones. The film is available now to stream on Apple TV+. What was your experience with The Instigators, Alan? Did you feel you were in the midst of a film that didn't quite go as planned?
Oh, I see. So you wove in the plot line there. So
Yes.
I'm sorry, Chris. I was feverishly looking over my notes as I always do when I plan for these reviews.
Sure.
Did you give a plot synopsis of the film? Was it kind of an idea of what the film's about?
I mean, yeah, two guys that get thrown in to do a robbery and things don't go well.
Okay,
and then they go on the run. So yeah, I did kind of sum it up. Yeah, the briefest possible
briefest
description.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. So what your question was, what did I think of the Instigators.
Well, and so, yeah, the setup kind of was that they are in the midst of a heist that didn't go quite as planned. Having watched the film, while watching it, did you feel you were in the midst of a film that didn't quite go as planned? So kind of paralleling your experience in a film and thinking like maybe things are going wrong, or, did everything go off? Did things seem to be clicking? The film worked for you. So kind of
I see.
Paralleling
Okay.
your experience as a moviegoer with the film with their experience as robbers doing this heist.
Sorry, this is a lot of setup I'm
Yes.
forcing you to go through just to get me to say whether I like this movie or not.
It boils down to that. Sure.
Yeah, it was fine. It was all right. Now, look, here's the thing. If it was not Doug Liman as a director, Matt Damon as a star, Casey Affleck as a star of this film, and I saw this, let's say if this was a film that was submitted for us for consideration at our film festival, and like no name actors in it, but it just kind of had it was a fun premise. It was a likable movie. I would have thought, wow, this is a really good movie. With the talent involved, I'm less enamored with the film. I'm like, well, it's fine, but it could have been great, but it was just fine. But still fine, in today's movie-going world, fine might be good enough. I had a fine time watching this film. I thought
that's the Criterion Collection quote in the back of the
fine
box.
time.
I had a fine time.
I think it was mildly entertaining.
Again,
I know. This is really where I am with the film. I know there's been a lot of kind of lower scores, lower reviews for this film in general by a lot of people. I didn't think it warranted that. I thought this was passable. Entertaining. I mean, I thought there was some pretty good dynamic going on with the two lead actors. I do want to talk about Casey Affleck's character a little bit later, because I do think your acceptance of this film is going to depend on how willing you are to embrace his character, because it's a lot and it's nonstop, and it's a lot to absorb with this film. I actually had more fun with the supporting actors than I did probably with the main premise of the film. Hong Chow, I really, really liked in this film. I thought her role, which I guess like I said, she's a doctor. You introduced to her like right off the beginning. She's a psychiatrist. I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. I think going into too much more kind of sets up too much expectations for the film. But I will say, I think her role and her role interjected into the plot later in the film was fun and good, and probably my favorite aspect of this film. Michael Stuhlbarg, getting to see him play a very caricaturish criminal villain. He seemed like he was having fun with it. I had fun watching him play the part. So, Alfred Molina is in it. It's like, yeah, there was some good supporting actors and some good, decent performances. And there was a fun car chase in the middle of the movie that I thought was actually shot pretty well. But the rest of it did come across as almost like more of a TV movie, kind of a real, just simple, not a lot of thought and energy put into the rest of it, but made for a passable entertainment for an hour and 40 minutes. I don't know. I am very, very nebulous about this film, Chris, because very nebulous. Okay, Chris, I'm not going anywhere very strong with this. Let me turn it over to you. What do you think of this film?
Well, I think, my opinion is much more, I guess, lower on the scale. I felt like not the actors, but I guess Casey Affleck writing it and then Doug Liman directing it. Not that he did a bad job directing. I just felt like it was just very shaggy, is a term that I could say. And I feel like they put as much effort into maybe the writing and the script and the plotting of the film as they did the title.
The title was
it's a terrible title.
It
and it's
fit at all.
generic, much like I felt the film was. It's like a slipshod. You referred to as a TV movie, which has a lot lower budget normally, not as many big name actors as this does. But this felt like a TV version of like an Ocean's 11 movie or something. Mm-hmm. Just very, just slapdash. And with the names associated with it, I was hoping for more. Mm-hmm. And you alluded to the fact that, before you and I, we were kind of looking at what to watch. We said, oh, let's watch this. We can watch it from the comfort of our own homes on Apple TV Plus. And you kind of mentioned to me over the weekend, hey, I've seen that some of the scores are lower on this. I'm curious to see like what's going on. Are the people's expectations too high and they're not, they're just really grinding down Doug Liman, or what's going on? And I feel like for the most part, I feel like the reaction to this film is justified. It's not a terrible film, but in the same vein, like I'm like, really, guys, this is the best we could do.
Right. Well, no, I definitely, I mean, that's the thing is if it wasn't for the talent attached to this, I'd be like, all right, it was pretty good movie. When you realize the talent attached to it, you're just like, okay, yeah, this is no Bourne Identity. This is no Edge of Tomorrow, Doug Liman. This is no other films that, all these people have made that have been really good. This did seem like, hey, we got a little extra money leftover budget from another production we did. Matt and Casey are friends. Casey just happened to write a movie. Hey, we could probably shoot this in a couple weeks and be done. And we get to ad lib, half the movie, it seems like, as we're going. So like, let's just have fun with it. Let's just do it. And that's what it came across as. If that's an okay form of entertainment for you to watch for an hour and 40 minutes, you could do worse. But yes, it is a disappointment when you think about these people involved. I mean, even the fact that it's an Apple TV Plus project, I'm just like, okay, come on. You're not giving me a great case for Apple TV Plus movies. It's like you had your couple of prestige movies last year with Killers of the Flower Moon and Napoleon. And then it just kind of seems like, okay, now we're just back to just throwing up whatever we can get our hands on to put out there. So that's really what this film seems like. I had a decent time with it. I'm not saying I had a great time. It's like a 2.5 star out of 5 for me. It's like, right split in the middle. It's like, if it's on in the background at some point, maybe I'll watch a little bit of it again sometime, who knows. But I had more fun with the supporting actors and some people getting to play outside of their norms than I did anything else. But yeah, it sounds like I'm a little more positive than you, but I'm not like positive. I don't want to get the impression that I'm singing this film's praises, because I'm not. It definitely seemed like a very afterthought, low effort type of movie. And it was underwhelming and disappointing when you think about what could have been.
To kind of lean a little bit on some positives, since I've been Mr. Negative, I totally agree with you. Hong Chow was the highlight of the film.
Yes.
She's there at the beginning. She comes back at the end, and that just made me realize how I wish she would have been in all of the film instead of maybe like, a third. I really liked her. I really like her as an actress anyway. It's interesting because she had been with Matt Damon in the Alexander Payne Downsizing, where she played like a different role or whatever. So they'd worked together before, and maybe that helped kind of some of their back and forth dynamics. But I really liked the establishment, the relationship between Matt Damon and her. I thought that was good. And just her in general, she was really strong, kind of a highlight of the film. I will say too, Matt Damon, this movie, which I guess he's been in other films that maybe weren't as good. He's kind of painted as a schlub, kind of in Downsizing, the movie I just referenced. But this film did not make him look glamorous at all. He looks older. He, just looks and he comes across as maybe not always thinking through things, a little fumbling.
Dense, yeah.
And I really I thought he did a good job. I really liked it. It was kind of a good, ego-shattering performance. Not that he needed that, but it was good to see a Hollywood movie star do those kind of performances. You're like, well, that's cool. They're kind of, letting themselves be vulnerable or whatever. I liked it.
Well, yeah, I mean, even from the offset, I think where this movie, I did not have any expectations for it at all. The first 5 minutes, which is a scene with Matt Damon and Hong Chow in an office, kind of set me to be like, oh, okay. All right, this is going to be straighten up in my seat a little bit. Oh, this is a little different than I was expecting, or a little interesting twist. Now, they didn't do a lot with it,
unfortunately.
That's the whole problem, is that there's a relationship you find out about between Rory, Matt Damon, and Hong Chow's character, Dr. Riviera, that does have some impact later in the film, but not a lot, and not as much as it could have. And I think that you could have had a much more interesting film if you had leaned into this relationship and this situation a little bit more than what we got. So anyway, back to you, Chris. Yeah, please continue.
Well, and unfortunately now I'm going to shift back to the...
Oh, we're already done with the positives.
I think, unfortunately, I think so. I mean, like I said, acting across the board, for the most part, I liked the Ving Rhames playing like a heavy police guy.
Yeah.
Actually, I like that. You mentioned Alfred Molina and Michael Stuhlbarg. Yep. I thought they were great too. Casey Affleck.
This is going to be the litmus test, I think, for people, whether they can like come out of this movie saying, did I like this movie or not?
Right.
Because of his performance.
And I've never had, I think he is a good actor. I've liked him in other things he's done. Maybe it's the fact that he wrote this, and I guess this is his kind of winking love letter to Boston, which his brother Ben Affleck is also like Mr. Big Boston. He did The Town. He's done some other things that were Boston centric. And I get that. But it's just the story that he gave us wasn't great. And I think in the back of my head, I knew that he co-wrote the script. So while watching it, I'm just kind of like, really? And Matt Damon has some kind of flat line deliveries that are comedic that worked for me. And I don't know that I've ever seen Casey Affleck necessarily do comedy. And maybe that was my problem, because he is kind of like, he's the more, I guess you could say, hip criminal. He's kind of a little bit more aware of how to do things and how to do this heist, and something about how he would be like giving these lines, like, laugh lines back to Matt Damon, kind of mocking certain things that were going on, and it just fell flat.
Oh, yeah. And it was a lot of it. So I mean, if his role and his performance isn't working for you, sorry to say, for an hour and 40 minutes, it is unrelentless. I mean, it's relentless.
Right.
It is constant barrage of lines and dialogue and quips and one-liners and kind of responding back to everybody. And yeah, after a while, I kind of grew numb to it, where I was okay with it, but I could see how, man, it would be tough for some people, because it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, he's a lot in this film.
And it didn't work for me. And there's also kind of a Hail Mary pass relationship with him and Hong Chau's character, the therapist.
Yeah.
And this dynamic they had, and that did not work for me at all either.
Well, yeah, there's a final shot, the two of them. If you are thinking it's leading to a romantic side of things, it does not work. There's nothing about that. If you take it from almost like bookends of where we saw the Matt Damon, Rory character at the beginning, that I can buy a little bit more. That left me a little bit in a more positive light. But it was kind of a mess there.
And something that I didn't feel like also worked, you get a little bit of Matt Damon's backstory and why he's kind of a reluctant thief in this situation. And it kind of worked okay, I guess. But then at the end of the film, they tried to do kind of a little bit of a heartstring pull that associates with the backstory. And I thought it was unearned. So
yeah, there was nothing in the film
there
was nothing in the film that earned some of those final moments in the film.
Yeah, both final moments for Damon's character and for Affleck's character.
No, I agree with that. I agree. So. Yeah, it was almost like, they went for an hour plus straight of just, okay, this is going to be two kind of dim-witted criminals or people who don't quite know what they're doing all the time and just trying to escape out of situations and getting themselves deeper into a situation that they volunteered for. And you've got, some gunplay, you've got some car chase, you've got some, a lot of running and ducking and moving away from things. And then it's like, by the end of the film, it's like, okay, oh yeah, that's right. We need to bring this home and actually have like some heart to it. So it's like, let's tack on some stuff in the last 3 minutes to try to do that. And it was a little wasted at that point. So
it was a 100-minute film that felt every bit to me way over 2 hours. It was just kind of like, okay. And if you're not trying to accomplish anything, just make it 85.
And it doesn't help the film too, that, I mean, it makes its plot a lot more complicated and complex with a lot more characters than it really needed to, which I think makes it feel longer and feels just more overbearing. Look, I enjoyed a lot of the supporting characters, but if I
you
really
enjoyed Rob Gronkowski,
I did as What was he? He was like a campaign spokesman or something.
So you're laughing, saying you did enjoy that cameo.
I mean, it took me a few minutes to figure out who that was.
Because I know
him.
who this dude is, but
Like, I couldn't believe he was in that.
I was just
Oh no, he was playing himself. So he was playing himself in the film. He's listed as playing himself. So I guess he was there as a celebrity person for the mayor.
That, to me, that just was kind of like eye rolling at that point. I was like, really? Okay.
I mean, there was a little bit of an interesting idea. The whole plot kind of hinges around a mayoral election where the mayor that is expected to win doesn't, and is kind of reluctant to release his concede the election. And there's other reasons why he's not conceding. And that's kind of the impetus for the crime that's involved. Some of that started to border on interesting. It's like I wanted it to go a little more interesting with it. It's like, man, it didn't really want to do anything with it. So Ron Perlman as the mayor, a little over caricaturish, a little unbelievable as a mayor character going through the situation. But
right.
I mean, again, he was having fun with it too. So, it is what it is, Chris. Again, if these were unknown actors that I've never seen before, and a first-time director, and they're like, hey, we made this movie about this heist gone wrong, and it's you didn't have these expectations of who these two people were, and the writing was just tighter and a little better on it, and didn't feel the need to fill every frame with just constant barrage of one-liners and quips and jokes. This could have been really good, but you do add those things back in there, and you when I'm spending more time seeing, what other actor is going to show up now in like another supporting role that I don't expect.
Sure.
That shouldn't be where my brain is when I'm watching the movie. So yes, I was checked out for a good part of it because of that. But there's some level of entertainment value here, just not a lot.
Yeah. If there's, in a movie dictionary, you give different categories, different niche genres. If there's like, background movie, something to put on in the background.
Exactly.
This would be listed as my prime example because if it's in the background and you're like doing your taxes or paying bills and this is rambling on in the background, it's like, oh, it's enough to look up every now and then and be like, oh, that was interesting. But yeah,
I'll say there were two moments of the film that I can say, I really, really liked.
Okay.
And one has to do with Hong Chau's character, Dr. Rivera. And that's where they're trying to, so basically she is going to get pulled along on this ride.
Yes. And she's having
and
a conversation
they have to determine how they're going to do this to where she can provide medical care for someone who needs it while voluntarily choosing to do so, but in a way that's not going to get anybody in trouble. So it's like this whole, creating a hostage situation. There was a dynamic scene. I thought that was really good. I'm like, oh, I like this. This is really interesting.
That's the thing that made me wish, like, oh man, I wish this had happened in the second scene of the film.
Exactly. That would have made for a much better setup of an entire film.
Yeah.
Second thing I mentioned, I do think there's a pretty good car chase sequence about midway through the film that's going through tunnels. And it's like, at that point, I'm like, okay, this is Doug Liman. Doug Liman knows how to direct action. He knows how to direct these things. I'm like, this is great. And then it just kind of, it was done. And the rest of the film just kind of limped along. So it was could that have been better as more of a build up to like more of a final sequence, or just have more of that throughout the film? I don't know. It needed something, but I did think there was a little bit of electricity charge during that middle sequence with a pretty fun car chase sequence. So
yeah, it kind of made you remember, oh right, Doug Liman directed this.
Yeah. Right, because you would not have thought about that otherwise the rest of the film.
No.
The first half of the film, I really was like, man, this is shot just like the most pedestrian, like I said, TV movie way. Not to denigrate TV movies, but you kind of take this idea of, we have low budget. We're just going to shoot the basics of what we need. We're not going to put a lot of energy and extra effort in these shots. And it just did come across just really, really pedestrian for so long. Got a little spark of energy with that car chase, and then just kind of went back to its ways for the latter part of the film. Had some good ideas, didn't explore them, didn't use them as much as they could have to make a more interesting film. So I guess that's where we are.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
That is where we are. And yeah, the title.
Bad title.
They didn't instigate anything. They themselves.
Right.
They're
just
not
had
the
kind of a bunch
instigators.
of stuff that happened that they had to kind of roll along with.
And then it's just the title itself, The Instigators. And can I just comment too, have you seen the movie poster for this film?
Yes.
The two of them like in handcuffs and like grimacing faces on them.
Yeah.
It is like, honestly, like somebody that they just pulled out their iPhone and like said, we need a photograph for the poster.
Okay.
Here, make a face like you're in pain and you're getting arrested, and boom, here we go. And it kind of summarizes the whole movie. It's like kind of cheap feeling, kind of slapped together, kind of. Yeah.
As much effort to the script as to the poster as to the title. It all kind of fits to a piece.
Good point. All right. Well, that is The Instigators. The good news in all of this is that if you are an Apple TV Plus subscriber, it's free.
Right.
You can click a button, you can watch it. And like I said, maybe there's some things in here that are entertaining for some people. But
If it's raining and it's a weekend and you want to just relax on the couch, might you fall asleep while you watch this?
And every
Probably.
other streaming service has somehow had a DDoS attack and is no longer operating. Right. So you're really limited to just Apple TV Plus, and that's the only place for entertainment. And you've watched everything else on Apple TV Plus.
Wow.
Then this movie's on.
There you go.
There you go. It's free. It's good to watch. No, actually, I think there's more opportunities to watch it than that, but. You get the point.
Sure.
Okay, that is The Instigators on Apple TV Plus. Matt Damon, Casey Affleck. Not terribly positive. Definitely not from Chris. Me, very, very middling to slight negative on that. But anyway, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get into some movie news. I've got one project I want to talk about that was just announced this week that I am fascinated by.
Okay.
Absolutely fascinated by. I do not know how this is going to work, but I'm so excited to see it come together.
Is this the Avengers Garfield crossover?
Oh yeah, that would actually be pretty good too. No, this is almost more unbelievable than that one.
Okay.
Is this project? And then I think you have a trailer for a new Steven Soderbergh project.
Yes.
That is we're going to watch as well. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with Foot Candle Films here in just a minute.
This podcast is sponsored by Jackson Creative, a custom communication agency located in downtown Hickory, North Carolina, specializing in online content creation. To learn more, visit thejacksoncreative.com. Jackson Creative, we tell your story.
Welcome back to Foot Candle Films. We had our somewhat underwhelming review of The Instigators in the first half of the show. Now we're talking about some news of projects that are coming our way, film projects either being announced or close to release. Chris, I am very excited to talk about this one that I wanted to lead us off with.
Okay.
Because honestly, when I read the headline, I thought it was a joke. Come to find out it's not.
You thought we had magically moved into 2025 and it was like April Fool's Day.
Right.
Something.
I thought we were like several months in advance here.
Okay.
No, it's this is legit, and I don't know how I feel about this for several reasons. So let me just set it all up for you.
Okay.
There is going to be a biopic about John Madden. Do you know who John Madden is?
He is very important to Electronic Arts because he makes a lot of football video games.
He does.
I do know who he is.
Madden, football.
Right.
He's a legendary football coach and sports commentator.
Right.
And yes, very much known for kind of being the face and name on the series of video games, football video games
He's
as well.
passed away, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So there's going to be a biography about him, which is not in itself not terribly surprising. He was a big character. He was a very big presence. I don't know anything about his backstory. I don't really know much about him up until the time he was a commentator.
You know, the one thing I think I do know about him. Now, we'll find out if this is true in the biopic. I believe he's the gentleman who very famous and had to go around to all these like football games and be a commentator, but he would not fly on a plane. He would only go on a bus. He would only travel, like he refused to do air flight. So I don't know if we'll find out if that's true in the documentary or not documentary, but the biopic.
Yeah, it's very possible. So I think there's some interesting story to tell there. So I'm all for
Besides
that.
the fact that he would refuse to fly on a plane.
Yeah. I mean, I think they should just make a movie about that.
Him just walking up to an airport and then turning around.
We
and
just see
walking
that
away.
happen like dozens of times. And it's like, nope, he's not going to fly.
He's not going to do it. Okay.
Okay. There were some initial talks a while back about who would be cast as John Madden. Two names that were batted around that did not get the part.
Okay, so we know who's playing Madden.
Yeah, we do. But the first name that came up, I thought, yes, this makes sense. Will Ferrell. I could see Will Ferrell playing John Madden.
You know, I was going to joke and throw out that name.
No.
But you're saying that was
a seriously considered name.
So I guess this would have been kind of a everything must go serious role as opposed to like a comedic role.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, there's some some acting involved. I mean, playing John Madden, you're going to get to play big and play up and have some level of comedy, I'm sure, and humor in it.
Okay.
But yeah, Will Ferrell was actually someone who was seriously considered.
Okay.
Hugh Jackman was also seriously considered for the role.
Okay. Yeah, both of those seem odd to me. No, I mean, I like both of them, but just to be Madden seems kind of strange.
So before I get to the actor that they have chosen, let me tell you who the director is.
Okay.
The director is a Mr. David O. Russell.
Okay.
Right. See, that's where I'm going. That starts to make it a little more interesting. Okay. David O. Russell did a biopic. Joy was technically a biopic.
Right.
If you remember.
Right.
Not a pretty loose biopic, but it was. It was a biopic.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence film. Look, I'm not going to get into David O. Russell as a person because it sounds like there are some issues with him and people not caring to either work with him or him having some challenges and things that he's not very well known or liked for. All that aside, I'm not going to get into that. We're just going to look at it from a film director standpoint. Despite him as a person, I mostly like his films. Three Kings, I Heart Huckabees. Really big fan of, I like The Fighter, the one he did with Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale. What is the one he did right before Joy?
Silver Linings Playbook?
Yeah, I love Silver Linings Playbook. I think he had a run of really good movies. Now, the last film he did was Amsterdam, which was not good.
No.
We reviewed that here on the and very disappointing. That just did not come together well. So that was his last film. This one would be the next, his follow-up to that. So the actor that's going to be playing John Madden.
See, I would almost think it would be better. I mean, I don't know, but I have heard the way Hollywood works is you get something like the John Madden. Everybody knows who he is, so you have to get a big director, and you can't just get a name. You have to have a big name. But for me, I feel like the film might work better if it was an unknown, which the way you built it up, I'm assuming it is not an unknown. It's somebody I'm going to know. So, I'm curious to hear the name. So
the name is Nicolas Cage.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. Nicolas Cage will be playing John Madden in a David O. Russell biopic.
Well, I will say that is interesting. And I could see why you reading this, you thought this is April 1st. Somehow I have slept and woke up and I've missed a couple of months. And wow, that is really interesting. Yeah, has Cage, he's never done a biopic, has he? He's done a lot of work, done a lot of films, haven't seen all of them, but not.
I don't think he's ever actually played
like
a real person
figure,
that I can think of at all. I mean, he's never played Elvis, right? I mean, he's kind of riffed on Elvis. Elvis has been part of his persona, but not a biopic.
Yeah, right. No. Yeah, so to my knowledge, and there again, we're not going to go down the David O. Russell rabbit hole, but from what I understand, very strong, let's say very strong personality and can be difficult working with sometimes. So Cage, who I love him as an actor, but I imagine he can be kind of eccentric as well, hearing so that if I was a financial backer, which I'm not of the film, I would be worried because it's just like, whoa, there's it's like a powder keg.
There's a lot of energy going into this film, positive or negative. Anyway.
But Cage being in a biopic, specifically playing someone that I don't, him being like even physically, just not that you have to look exactly because there's makeup and everything, but just, that's bizarre.
Bizarre. That is exactly where I was going to go with this.
Wow.
I am fascinated by the project, but it is a bizarre project. So
we have a release date for this.
No.
Okay.
Do not. I think this is very early on. They just got him cast. Just announced this week. So they're still a good ways off from announcing a date. But
anything Nicolas Cage is involved with, I mean, like we reviewed Longlegs. He's going from Longlegs, which I don't know what else he has coming out in between that and this Madden biopic, but it's just like, he's still just kind of, which is what makes him so fascinating. He just kind of goes and does whatever. So it'll be interesting.
So I was reading up a little bit on David O. Russell, just kind of curious what all he's working on right now, because, Amsterdam was a big flop. I mean, it had, a lot of stars in it, pretty big budget, and it did nothing, and also got critically savaged. He's, in addition to Madden, he's also working on a Linda Ronstadt biopic. That's going to be starring Selena Gomez as Linda Ronstadt.
Huh.
Which,
now, see,
casting-wise, I totally get
I can
that.
see.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
I totally think the casting is great. But, is he just leaning into the biopic world right now? I don't know. But he's also got another film, a 1970s set drama called Super Toys, that's going to feature Keke Palmer and Sacha Baron Cohen.
Oh.
That's all it, nothing else has been said about
Toys.
Super Toys.
Okay.
And it's like set in the 70s, and it's a drama. I don't know what else about it. But those two, again, I'm casting wise, it's some interesting cast that's working with him. I think the Selena Gomez as Linda Ronstadt, sounds great.
See that?
Anxious to see that.
And she can sing.
Right,
so there's that.
And then I think Keke Palmer's really interesting. We haven't seen her in a role since Nope.
Right.
And then Sacha Baron Cohen, I mean, I haven't seen him in much either. So those two together could be really interesting. Anyway, curious projects, again, setting the David O. Russell side of it to the side. Sure. It's some interesting projects, and I think curious to see where these go. So,
yeah, me too.
All right. So that was my big news item. That's really that's pretty much all I had, Chris. But I'm going to turn it over to you because I think you've got a trailer to share with us that I've got queued up as well.
Okay. And, we kind of teased in the opening, Steven Soderbergh, a director that I've seen tons of his stuff. I like it. His last thing we were talking before we started recording, Magic Mike's Last Dance, which was 2023, which he actually directed. Didn't catch that. But you and I did talk about the film before that, which was a much smaller scale film, Kimmy, which we did talk about that, kind of a little bit of a thriller. But the director of Sexualized and Videotape, Aaron Brockovich, just the Ocean's 11 films. So he, the guy's done a lot of films, and then hadn't really heard him doing like anything for a while. He did some TV, which I haven't caught. So they've put out a teaser for his latest film, which is the film's called Presence. And the very short little byline just says, showcases a suburban house inhabited by a mysterious entity. That's it. That's all we got.
For kind of a little bit of a horror movie, maybe? We'll see.
Maybe, which would be interesting. Oh, Traffic's another. Yeah, so the guy's done a lot of films. So I don't think he's ever done specifically like a horror film.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what this is. I don't know. We'll take a look at the trailer here.
All right, it's a teaser, so it's really quick.
Sure.
But let's give it a watch. Okay, so
that is the teasiest of teasers. Other than the fact it basically, they just show a bunch of titles since this is an audio podcast. I would say tone of the film does appear to be maybe, if not horror, definitely like suspense, thriller type, according to the music that we just heard. And they do this listing of previous films, which of course, he lists all his A-list, and then it's like presents, and then they say January 2025 releasing. So I'm excited. And interestingly enough, it's also another neon film. So doing like some kind of interesting work, kind of like A24 got known for. Neon's the one who released Longlegs. So, and a recent film that you and I haven't reviewed, Cuckoo. Now they're releasing this one. And it does seem the trailer, you just have that intense music and kind of a slow panning shot, maybe like a point of view of omniscience shot of a house. And of course, it's very shadowy, the interiors and stuff. It's Soderbergh. I am interested in it. Doesn't even list the cast.
Well, so the film actually premiered at Sundance.
Okay.
So, I've got information on it. Do you want to hear anything about the film? I don't want to spoil anything on it. But
go ahead.
It's already screened and all that, now showing in theaters and coming January. It's centers on a family of four played by Lucy Liu, Chris Sullivan, Edie Madej, and Kalina Lang. I'm not familiar with the other three. Lucy Liu, we do know.
You do know who that is. Gotcha.
And the logline is that they move into a haunted house after a real estate agent convinces them it's the perfect property. Then they quickly realize there is a titular presence that may or may not be sinister. Only thing I'm hearing, there were some reviews about it. I'm not going to say anything about what people are saying about the film because I don't want to set up any expectations. But it supposedly has a very immersive POV type of viewpoint to a lot of the filming.
You kind of get a little bit of feeling of that from the trailer.
So it's not a found footage movie. The camera isn't really a camera, but the eyes of a presence in the home. So it's a little interesting. So
instead of being the eyes for like paranormal activity films, those were like from the point of view of baby cams or like security cameras. So not that kind of thing, but you're put in the point of view of this presence, maybe.
Yes.
Which is what the trailer kind of gave you the feel for.
To that.
I will say too, if we're revealing a little bit more information, doing a little bit of snooping online, I see that it's credited as the writing coming from David Koepp, who wrote things like Jurassic Park, the first one, the first Mission Impossible. So it's like, okay, this guy's got some writing credits. He helped write Kimmy, which was another Soderbergh film. So the guy, it's not like it's an unknown quality there or unknown quantity with David Koepp doing the writing. So yeah, interesting. I am curious, and I could see this being maybe kind of like a Blair Witch experience where going to a theater with the surround sound where, you feel like you hear, or all the bumps you kind of feel, or the jolts and stuff. It could be interesting. Mm-hmm. So maybe it'll be it'll be interesting, and it's coming out pretty soon. So I'm glad the trailer doesn't reveal.
Oh, the trailer gives you nothing.
Right.
So,
it is a teaser, but like it's good for me, at least, that we're in August. This thing comes out in January, and this is all we've had. And I just heard about this film last week. Like I didn't even know Soderbergh was working on it. Yeah. So interesting.
If we have just one more minute, can I throw out one more little thing?
It's
just
a
because
podcast. We have as much.
That's true.
Time
We're not
as
limited on time, are we?
That's right.
One last thing I forgot to mention, that there was a project that I did hear that at least got a little bit more of an announcement to it.
Okay.
It's still a ways off from when it will be released. I think they're saying now it's going to be May 2025.
Okay.
But they have put a date on a new film by Kogonada.
Oh, okay.
He of After Yang and Columbus, the two films he's done. And After Yang, really like that film. And did we review it? I don't think we reviewed it. I think you recommended it. I think I watched it later. Really liked it. And Colin Farrell in that film. So the new film by Kogonada is called A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey.
A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Set for a May 9th, 2025 release. Going to be starring Mr. Colin Farrell once again as well as Margot Robbie. So it's going to, all it says about the film is it's described as an imaginative tale of two strangers in the unbelievable journey that connects them. They meet at a wedding, embark on a GPS-driven adventure together, said to incorporate time travel and romance. So that is the film, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. I believe it also has Jodie Turner-Smith in it, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, several other names. So yes, but Margot Robbie, Colin Farrell will be the leads on that. And that is coming out in May next year. That's all I've got on that, but I just thought it was interesting.
That sounds like an early candidate for my top 10 anticipated of 2025, a film from Kogonada with that cast and the brief description. Yeah, I think that could warrant a place on that list. So interesting.
Yep.
Glad you mentioned that.
All right. Well, that is all we have for news. So I really think, the Nicolas Cage Madden thing was kind of just blowing my mind. I'm still trying to process that a little bit. But yeah, so and Presence could be interesting. Very anxious to see what that looks like come January. Chris, let's turn it over to you to kind of close out the show for us. We look to you to give us some recommendations. Those of us clamoring for something to watch and a movie to get into. And we're just flooded with so many films. It's like we need somebody to kind of cut through all the chaff and say, all right, here's one we think you ought to check out. So that's what Chris is here to do. Chris, what recommendation do you have for us today?
So I watched this movie probably not quite a year ago, but almost. It came to me, it was a 2023 release. It came kind of at the end of the year. We get a lot of screeners for critics' films. And the film The Teacher's Lounge by Ilker Katak was released, or we got a screener for it. I saw it. I really liked it. But I couldn't find it anywhere. I didn't want to recommend it on the show and say, hey, good luck finding it, because, the only way. But it is now recently released on Netflix, which has kind of a bad track record of releasing things and you can't find it. So like you say, this is my hopes is to kind of point you and be like, hey, here's something I thought was pretty good. Let me tell you what it's about. There is a teacher involved, and one of her students she suspects of theft, and she decides to get to the bottom of the matter, kind of taking on herself because she's pretty convinced that the student did it. And then caught between like her ideals of right and wrong and the school system and the consequences of her actions, things just kind of get out of hand. And I thought it was the person who plays the teacher, Leonie Bench, I think is the way you pronounce her name. Sorry, it's a foreign film. It is subtitled. But she does a really good job. And I've watching the film, my parents were both teachers growing up, and you hear about the struggles of teachers. And I was just like, how much is this teacher getting paid? Because granted, it's in a different country, but I was like, if it's anything like teachers here in the US, like, I think she'd just be like, okay, I'm out. Peace out. Yeah. I'm out of this because I don't want to have to deal with this. There's another film that I actually liked quite a bit that makes a good pairing with this film, but I also haven't recommended it on the show because I couldn't find it anywhere. This one finally got released on Netflix, Teacher's Lounge. But it would make an interesting double feature with Koreeda's Monster, which also came out last year, because both of them center around schools and things happening at schools and like bullying and all, just there's just a lot of interesting things that could happen. The only thing is, if you did that double feature, you'd probably need to give a trigger warning to educators, because I think it could be very triggering. Yeah. But anyways, that's the Teacher's Lounge. It came out in 2023. It is now available on Netflix. I recommend people check it out. It's a good, thought-provoking film.
Okay, good. That's the Teacher's Lounge, recommended by Chris for us to check out.
Yes.
Thanks for that. And with that, I think we are done for today. So we had our review of The Instigators. We had our discussion about John Madden being played by Nicolas Cage. We had a teaser, very, very short teaser from Soderbergh about his new film, Presence. And then Chris was recommendation of The Teacher's Lounge. So, Chris, anybody wants to get a hold of us, talk to us, give any feedback at all, what can they do?
You can send an email to info@footcandle.org and tell us why Nicolas Cage was the perfect casting choice and makes so much more sense than Will Ferrell. Although I think they're equally kind of odd choices, but whatever. You can follow us on Twitter at Footcandle Film, Facebook, Footcandle Film Society, Instagram and Threads. We're there at Footcandle Film. Al and I are also on Letterboxd, where we try to track what we're seeing and leave quick takes sometimes. Do us a favor. If you like the show, consider giving us a star rating, write a review, share with friends on whatever service you get your podcasts on, because it'll help us reach new listeners. We'd appreciate it. Alan, what is happening September 20th through the 29th in Hickory, North Carolina?
So I think I'm planning on, I know I've got to mow the grass on that Saturday.
Got you.
Think I'm also, I might be having dinner out somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know. Was there something else going on I need to be aware of?
Well, if you can fit this into that schedule, sounds like you may have a little bit of time.
I got a lot going on, Chris.
The 2024 Footcandle Film Festival.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'll be there. Okay.
Well, good. Because I'd hate to do that all by myself. That would scare me. But it is going to be a great time. We've got filmmakers that are going to attend. We'll have Q&As after the films. It is our 10th year. We think it's going to be a good one. We hope you can join us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it. Footcandlefilmfestival.com is where to go to get information about the festival, see our festival films, see our schedule, buy tickets, buy passes, all that stuff. And we hope to see you in late September in beautiful Western North Carolina for the festival. And with that, we are going to sign off. And thanks so much for listening. And we'll look forward to talking to you next time.
See you in the ticket line.
Watch films in the company of like-minded people in the dark. Watch films in the underground. We won't let anyone know where you are. The films that don't make it to Carmike at the mall, or ones that were famous when Grandpa would watch films out of the reverence of the heritage of an art. Watch films through the courtesy of Footcandle Film Society.
Special thanks to Carpal Tuller for the show theme music. For more about Carpal Tuller, visit www.carpaltuller.com. You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.